you need to know your values as a person. And that's like something that's maybe not very evident for people that are a little bit younger or like are just trying to get up and like running in their career. Cause like, yes, you have values as a person, which I think that's important, but then you also have values in business, and you need to be able to identify those things readily so you can align yourself with people that are kind of the same thought process, or the people that you want to be around and network around. And then that's going to attract the clientele that's attracted to that value system. And I think that's kind of like the core of this, you know, navigating business relationships, personal relationships, online relationships, is just identifying your value system and then identifying that in other people that you want to be associated with.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best distillation of like the last half of this conversation, is figuring out like if I want to be literally just in any format, have an active relationship with someone, be it business, be it social, be it whatever, I don't want to also then have to think about how you're going to act in any given situation that may be directly linked back to me in some capacity.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually ties in nicely to what I was saying about single entity corporation. Like the next level would be a team, or whatever extrapolation of who would be, is like that's a very hard thing to get used to and start to manage. Is how do people that work with me, how are they going to act? Like, do I know them deeply enough? Do I know their values deeply enough? Have they been cemented to me that if I give them an assigned task, if they're going to represent the same banner that I represent, if everything they say is somehow linked back to me because we wear the same shirt, is that someone that I can actually, like, can I fuck with them? Like, do I have to worry about what they're about to say in an online space? And that's probably the biggest allure to like I've reached that spot business wise, but in terms of who I work with, what I do in terms of my own business, stuff like that, is that I don't really have to think. Either I don't have to think, or if a situation arises, I kind of know how that person thinks enough to, if it's not specifically what I would do, I can kind of encapsulate what I know that they would probably do. And there's not a whole lot of guesswork, because that degree of like mental burden of being like, okay, what's coming next? That is a wild amount of anxiety to try to manage from a business perspective.
Fucking tell me about it. Yeah, it's, and like I have to be very grateful for that, because we have a great team here at Prescript, um, yourself included. Like everyone that wears the shirt, that's I'd co-sign anything they say without hearing it. Like and that's like the cool part of this, is that if you put out, you know, kind of a strong belief in your value system, you will attract people with a similar value system. And I think that's exactly what, you know, Prescript as a whole is a representation of, is people who have strong values and strong beliefs around, you know, exercise. But it doesn't end there. Like it does ripple into other areas of life. And that's why everyone that's on the team, like they fucking work hard. They're very successful. They're very smart. They're good at what they do. Like a lot of them have been high performers in other areas too. So it's like it's really cool to be able to surround yourself with that type of people, because I've learned more from like the staff, even just the staff and the students at Prescript, than I have ever on my own. I ever would have without them. So it's like that's the value of this, is that if you can determine those values in yourself and you can attract those people, like the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. I think I said that right. It's like everyone working together to make everyone better is always going to be better than you working alone to make yourself better. And that's been the most gratifying part of this experience for me, is that, yeah, it's cool to see the business grow. It's cool to make money, but like, it's even better to meet good people that like are very convicted in what they're doing, to learn from them, and then to build a network of those people, so that there's like it's basically just a support system for your career. And that's cool to see. And that's cool to like, it's fucking open market. Like anyone could join. Anyone that believes in these things, they can hop in and they can learn and they can be part of this. And that's like, you know, pretty much everyone that works for us now they've come in organically. So it's like people that just like have liked what we're doing, have taken the courses, have been vocal. It's like, hey, you're cool. You want to work for us? And that's like, it's just been a really cool experience.
Yeah, the natural evolution is anytime, and a couple of us have had this question a couple times, and can segue into like a 2-minute quick. We had a plan to sort of loosely talk about like scope of practice or some shit, and it just organically evolved into us chilling. But
Yeah.
we've had a couple of us. Actually, I think it was you. Actually, I DM'd about it too. Like we've had people reach out, either through direct messages, even through like labs. So we got every once in a while, be like, hey, how can I get involved with the team? And it's just be involved. Literally, just be involved and be you, be genuine, be like uphold your values, your principles, and be in the space and work your ass off to excel. And then you get noticed. Literally, that's it. Like just be good at what you do and be a good person, and for a long enough period of time. And like every single person on the team, barring Junta and Shallow, which kind of, he really pulled that thread all the way back to the root. You noticed each other in the same way that every other person on the team sort of developed into a team position. Is just do your thing at a high level, find the person or the team that is like-minded to you, and then eventually you'll just be like, yo, you want to do this thing with us? Like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But it's like there was never like an application. There was never like, hey, can I please work for you? That was a thing. It was mostly just like, hey, I provide this value. I've been doing this thing. Like my case specifically, I was just like, I'm going to do of my own volition a lab that is going to help to facilitate like myself and other students taking the content and really being able to live it to the next level, like practically apply it. Got on the radar, got noticed, and now we're doing it for real, right? Like it's certain things that you can be doing like above and beyond what the average person would think. It's not like a written application. It's presenting yourself, really, like carrying yourself and presenting yourself. And like segueing that, like I said, scope of practice, I think, was the detail we were talking about. But real quick, not to tangent this too hard because we're probably close to the end of the podcast. But like my Q&As are fun because again, I don't use the medium correct. You will not see me recording myself aside from any clips on someone else's podcast that I get in return. It's all written content. It allows me to articulate very well. It allows me to be thoughtful about how I'm trying to say what I'm saying so that people get the right message and they walk away with the correct information. And scope of practice is something that like I'm very adherent to, even on the social media platform, which is typically the Wild West for everybody else. It's like there's zero consequences for me telling someone to go get blood work done or to take this drug or to try this method or do whatever it's going to be, because it's the internet. Yeah. And that's a shit precedent to set for people that technically are liable if they're working with clients who actually pay them money and they start doing these things, because like every jurisdiction is going to have its own kind of rules and regulations around, say, nutrition or other things, but there's definitely things in place that you could be held liable, especially if you're someone like me. I represent my company, but I also am integrated into a team like Prescript. So being integrated on a multidisciplinary team, Dr. Jordan Junta, Doctor of Chiropractic, let's go. Shallow, I'm trying to think. Dwayne has high education. I can't remember if Dwayne's got a clinical side of it as well. But in any respect, like these very high level, in some cases, clinical like colleagues that I work with literally daily, or if not weekly, or in some capacity, I for sure have rubbed shoulders enough and like by osmosis gathered enough information adjacent to just being a personal trainer that I can give some pretty solid clinical advice when needed. But I also know about scope of practice and that I'm not qualified in any way, shape, or form to speak outside of sets, reps, and basic information about certain things. I could tap dance on nutrition like everybody else. I'm actually highly qualified. I have a degree in nutrition and a high-end certification. However, I also know the ramifications of being wrong and the ramifications of ignorance. Ignorance is a very dangerous thing, because on the internet, people speak from extreme points of ignorance extremely confidently. Mm-hmm. And so he or she who speaks with the most confidence is perceived as right, when they could send you off the deep end in a clinical setting to the complete wrong direction and either waste a lot of your time and money or make a situation worse. So when I get questions about, I have pain in this, I have this clicks or this snaps, or advice on recovering from this injury, I'm like, all right, here's the perspective from sets, reps, not medical advice first and foremost. Consult or collaborate with your local clinical insert whatever the fuck. But it's always going to be upheld from the perspective of I do exercise selection and technique execution. I do sets, reps, I do programming, I do that kind of stuff. Because even in the online setting, because it's how I deliver who I am as a product, who I am as a person, I'm not trying to supersede or overstep my actual experience, my actual qualifications, because that's a negative reflection on my values. So when people come up and it's a question about exercise physiology, any things that I'm formally educated in or anything that I'm qualified to speak on, here is a wall. I'm going to give you as much value as humanly possible on any given topic. Screenshot it, zoom in, whatever you have to do. The second it's a, hey, I have torn my ACL. I'm like, that sucks. Did you know that your hamstrings and calves can help with some stability at the level of the knee when your ACL is fucking foobarred? Outside of that, probably go to rehab with a clinical. Like, I know a lot of stuff. I hang out with clinicians all the time, but I'm not about to echo what they say because I may know, rather they may know everything I know as a trainer about sets and reps, but I sure as fuck don't know everything that they know as a clinician that's been through labs, been through placements, been through actual, in a lot of times and places like medical settings as well. I may look like a clinician. I just don't. I play one on TV or whatever the phrase is. And most other people on the internet that speak to that degree of depth are literally speaking from very confident places of ignorance that if nothing bad has happened yet, yeah, just wait eventually. Like, and it's not me hoping for it. It's a matter of eventually someone is not going to articulate themselves properly and someone's going to go and probably cause a situation to either become worse or generate a situation that never need to exist. So scope of practice is the most fun thing you can cite because it absolves you from answering probably a very complex question, but also make sure that people earn trust that you actually won't exceed where you should actually operate within.
Yeah, I love it. Perfect perspective. And that's like the message that needs to be sent, because there's nothing I enjoy more than saying, oh, that's out of my scope. I can't really give you direction on this, but this person can. And it's like, it's just drawing a boundary between like, all right, and it shows a lot of confidence also in the things that you know that you can handle and the things that you know that you can't. And it's the thing about scope of practice is it's predicated by the governing body of X profession, right? Like it's probably governed by the highest level of certification that you have, or like the highest level of capability. So like me, even operating as a personal trainer, like I'm governed by the rules, the responsibilities, the quality of care, and the scope of practice that a chiropractor in the state of California would be governed by, because that's my title. Like I can't operate as a personal trainer without being a chiropractor, right? So I can operate as a chiropractor without being a personal trainer. And there's a difference in the way that you have to make decisions when you're coming from these different perspectives. And the thing is, people work on the internet now. And I'd be willing to bet if you went back 20 years, there's very few people that were coaching or prescribing exercise that didn't have a degree or a training certificate or like were insured by some sort of governing body. I guarantee right now on the internet, the majority of people that are selling exercise as a product are not certified by anyone, don't have insurance. They probably don't even have an LLC. So if you sue them, you can take everything they own.
Yeah, works for wise there.
Right? So basically what I'm getting at is there's no one, they don't have a scope of practice because they don't have a governing body. They never went through the qualifications to say that I can do this. I am a personal trainer. I am a rehab specialist. What the fuck is that? Like people, I had to go to school for a long time to get a doctorate degree and pay a bunch of money to be able to be qualified to do rehab. But there's just someone who, enjoys prescribing banded exercises to people that are hurt, and they're a rehab specialist. Are you fucking kidding me? Like what qualifies you to be this thing? Who's insuring you? Like, this is practicing medicine without a license. That's like, you can get sued for that. So the thing is, like, the consumer, they don't fucking know. Like, they don't know the difference. They just kind of trust that these people know what they're talking about. And if there's no governing body, people are going to overstep and they're going to overreach and they're going to do it out of ignorance because they don't know the bounds of what they should know. Right? They just know some things that kind of work. And that's, is very much the difference of like, I don't know, engineer with a 3D printer and like a carpenter with a hammer, right? It's like you have a hammer, like you're just going to hit nails all day. And when your hammer doesn't work, if you come into contact with a screw, or I don't know, what else do carpenters come into contact with that they can't fix with a hammer? If you have to do concrete work, the hammer's not the right tool for the job. But, the engineer is going to engineer something to do something that they needed to do, right? So there's these people that are not qualified, that don't know the risk of the things that they're doing because they were never taught the things that they should be doing. They just learn certain ways to do certain things at work. And there's very specific people in my fucking mind that live in Australia that I'm thinking about when I'm talking about this. And they just overstep their boundaries because there's no one governing them, because they never were qualified to do it in the first place. And you see that a lot with, you're seeing it more and more with like the prevalence of telehealth, and like a lot of telehealth, even like these companies that are selling it, you're not dealing with a doctor or a physician. You're dealing with like someone that got some internal training, so they don't know the interactions between different drugs, or like what elevated blood markers mean in congruency with one another versus in isolation, and like how things interact. And even worse than that, you just have a bunch of bodybuilders prescribing drugs. So it's like, it's the fucking wild, wild west out there, like you said. And like, there's no consequences because people aren't holding people accountable. Like, I don't know. I just heard of a bodybuilding coach that like killed some girl going to the Arnold with diuretics. It's like, where's the accountability? I don't know. That's got to be a crime somewhere. Like, I don't know. I'd assume that somewhere in the legal system, someone would be pissed off about this, but there's no consequences, and it's wild to me.